What's up? Feeling a little stuffy here. Pardon the rough voice. Tim Warner here, and this session is going to be about professional networking. When I think about my career of 25 years or so, I can count on one hand, probably half of one hand, the number of full-time, part-time, or contract positions that I earned or was offered as a result of me just simply going the long way around and responding to an advertisement. Vast majority, 95+% of every engagement I've had professionally has arisen through professional networking. Now, what do I mean by that? On one hand, I think, and I've really lived out the truth of the expression, sometimes it's not what you know, it's who you know. And I've never believed that life was fair, so I don't have that hobbling me. Some examples that come off the top of my head. I remember once I applied for a position at a large university. I don't want to be too specific here. I've worked at a few universities, so let's just leave it at that. But I applied to this position formally by going through the HR website only after my friend, who he and I had worked together in a previous place, he went to this university. And then when I was ready for my next role, I don't remember if he contacted me or I contacted him, just, hey, what's up? You looking for any help? You see? And he put me through the university's hiring system. But because I had that personal connection, he was able to expedite my case. Not to an unfair level. Please understand, I'm not assuming anything untoward happened, but I had a more direct route. Frankly, more recently, when I went to Microsoft, same exact situation. A friend of mine in industry was at Microsoft. I have quite a few friends, acquaintances, and contacts there. As a Microsoft professional, I suppose I would. Same situation. I contacted him, asked, do you know of any openings? Yes, you can always go to careers.microsoft.com, but there's a sea of positions there, and it can be really confusing figuring out what's what. So having a friend to help me navigate that, and what he did, this friend, is that he patched me through via a LinkedIn introduction to the actual hiring manager. And I find that when you're looking for a position at a huge enterprise, there's so much abstraction. There's such a huge wall. It reminds me of the Northern Wall in Game of Thrones, that you can't seem to penetrate from the outside. At Microsoft, if you know the hiring manager, you have a huge leg up because you can get on this person's radar as opposed to just having 1 out of 1,000 applications bubble up. Again, I'm not assuming any preferential treatment or shortcuts because in this case, my friend did introduce me via LinkedIn to the hiring manager, and that connection undoubtedly put me on his radar in a special way. But I still had to ultimately go through all the bureaucracy that Microsoft has in their job application and doing a full interview round. Microsoft's a high-integrity company. So this notion of building professional contacts and then seeing what opportunities come up, and it's a bi-directional situation. By having a lot of industry contacts, I'm able to pay it forward. And when I know somebody who's looking for a position, I can be that person to patch them through and to make an introduction to somebody who is looking for that position. So I think a big theme here for me that I want to transmit to you is don't be afraid to introduce yourself to others in the industry, including blind introductions. I'm a huge proponent of blind introductions. I think they can be done right and they can definitely be done wrong. I don't know how many blind introductions I receive in LinkedIn, for example. And when they start off with, hey, and understand, I don't know this person yet. It starts off, hey, Tim, how you doing? Or even worse, hey, Tim, with a little cloud icon. I use an icon in my LinkedIn handle to make it easier to spot bulk emails. Because if somebody's just scraping names from LinkedIn, They're going to pick up that little cloud icon. As opposed to if somebody were to do a personal message, they're not going to include that little icon. When I get a form message, 9 times out of 10, bang, it's deleted without even looking at it. When I see, hey, Tim, how you doing? And then goes into a sales pitch, bang. Or the worst, I don't like when it's all fluff and then at the very bottom, they try to smuggle in the ask. No. I think the way to do a blind introduction correctly, at least the benefit that I've had through doing this, is number 1, to be transparent and candid. Ultimately, yes, I'm contacting this publisher because I'd like to talk about publishing with them, for example. You see what I mean? So I'm going to front load my request right at the very top of the proverbial fold, the very beginning of the message. Number 2, the message is going to be short. No need for a wall of text that turns into BS. I know I'm being judgmental here. I'm a little bit passionate about this subject. But get to the point early, briefly, and be honest and gracious. Thank you, please, etc. The person doesn't respond, give them a few days, follow up once, maybe even twice, but then that's it. Clearly, they don't want to be bothered anymore, so I'm not going to press them. But this technique has paid huge dividends in my life. I wouldn't be a published author if I didn't do that. It was a blind introduction that got me into the publishing industry. It was blind introductions that got me really lucrative contract gigs and full-time employment in my job history. So not being afraid to ask, stepping through that door and asking the question, because what's the worst result? It's either going to be they never respond, in which you never know, or they respond and they say no thank you or not at this time. I've had professional contacts where I've done a blind introduction. Again, the form doesn't matter, whether it's email or in person or whatever. And we fell out of touch for a long time, sometimes years. But then an opportunity might fall across their desk and they remember me from our contact years ago, and it sparks something, you see. So where do you go for these contacts? In the IT industry, LinkedIn's a great fertile ground for this sort of thing. I think that the premium subscription to LinkedIn is great because you get in-mail credits where you can send people email messages or LinkedIn messages, even if you're not connected to them in your network yet. Another opportunity, and I'm so grateful that tech conferences are becoming in person again after a long hibernation during the COVID pandemic. That's always a great spot for professional networking. You go to meetup.com, there's the technology user group community. Again, a lot of those are going back to in person, which is cool. But one nice thing about tech user groups online is that you've got a worldwide participation as opposed to a local user group that's going to draw just people within your town. Both are great. Is this all making some semblance of sense? Don't be afraid to ask. When you make a blind introduction, be transparent, be brief, say your pleases, say your thank yous, and back off when it's clear that the person doesn't want further contact. Pay it forward. I have historically found it tremendously grotesque when I've observed people pull up the ladder behind them, so to speak. In other words, they get a hand up. It's called a kiss up, kick down orientation, and it really frightens me because of its sociopathic nature. At least that's how I feel about it. I get a hand up and then I'm kicking down below to prevent others from coming up. Oh, no. No, not at all. Hand up, hand down, and just keep the chain going. That's what I strongly recommend. Okay, let's see. As usual, let me think. These are, as you know, I think, totally unscripted. So I just do my best effort off the top of my head on whatever the subject is. Professional networking. Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know the drill at YouTube. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments and I can respond there. Doubtless, somebody will have a good question that I'll think to myself, darn, why didn't I include that in the source video, you know? Yeah, I'm not going to stretch. No need to. Thanks a lot. See you next time.